Yo guys, what is going on? Insanity coming back at you today with another Division 2 video, and today we're going to be wrapping up Hype Week for this game here over on the channel with a specific topic that I've tried to stay away from a little bit this entire week because I really wanted to try and have this be a video all on its own, and I'm talking about your player progression throughout the entire story. Whatever the campaign is, whatever you're going to be doing from level 1 to 30, 1 to 50, 1 to 100, whatever your max level will be in the game, I really wanted to go ahead and try and discuss what they did in the first game and how things should be changed in order to try and make it a much more successful and feel good experience when it comes to the loot grind while trying to progress to that end game. So with that being said, in the Division 1, you basically went through the campaign, you had a pretty decent time to kill, and once you got to level 12, it became a shitstorm. Level 12 was that sweet spot, and then after that it kind of felt like you were getting more into the bullet spongy kind of enemies, and it was just like bleh, you don't know what you're doing at that point because you're just getting wrecked and you have to put in full magazines into enemies and they're still not dropping. And then that got fixed later on in update 1.4, and yay, that is how things went. Now you would get these lovely blueprints as times went on, but you never got any of the cool stuff. Like as the game started to progress and you got update 1.1 to 1.8, you got these new gear sets and these new blueprints and so on. You never got to experience any of that as a character that was going through the main story. It was like they were adding all this new stuff, but it was only for the end game. What if you had the ability to go ahead and try and start using some of these gear set items earlier in the campaign and be like, hey, you know what? We have this cool thing called the optimization station. I have this amazing piece of gear that I really want to hold on to. I don't want to get rid of it. It's a mask of Sentry's Call, and it's got all the greatest stats in the world, and I want to try and make that the best possible mask I can make it later on. Give the players the ability to still use that low-end gear that they're fighting for to hang on to, and just utilize it in a way so that when the end game comes around, that your level 15 mask can be bumped up to a level 30 mask. So you know, for instance, that that is still going to be a decent piece of loot and you don't have to go regrind for it. This will give players the opportunity to try and playtest what type of player they want to become in the end game. Now, I understand that you get multiple agents and you get multiple opportunities to try and mix and do different things with loadouts and so on, but someone like me, I really enjoy being a healer. I love using Reclaimer. I figured that out once we were doing Falcon Lost, and I got a Reclaimer 6-piece set, and I was able to just go ahead and try and hang back, snipe people, and make sure that my box is being dropped to keep my entire team alive at all times. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. I also did the same thing on Dragon's Nest, and then any other time, I'm just pretty much running my Striker's battle gear and just straight up being full on DPS and shooting those NPCs and trying to take out people in PvP the best I can. That is my type of playstyle, but I would have never known that until I was able to try these gear sets out in the end game once they started coming out with 1.1, 1.2, and all the other ones later on in the later updates throughout the entire life cycle. So yeah, I definitely have to say the ability to use some of these gear set items, even at a lower level, would be very, very huge in trying to make it so that people can try and figure out their play styles early in the game, and they're also able to go ahead and try and take their lower end characters, and they're not just running around with legendary, common, rare, or some high end gear into the DZ, if that's even what it's called in the Division 2, with a rather unique gear set that they want to actually try and use at a lower level in the DZ. So that's part number one. That is something that I really want to go ahead and see. But you got to also look at it from the other hand of trying to see what it's like for those on the dev side to try and sit there and have these things like world tiers and have certain items that are good for some situations but not good for others. I mean, if you had full-on Striker's gear at the end of General Assembly, I mean, you could have just blew through that mission, right? And we all do that now. It's pretty much an in-game gear set, and I think they need to tweak the gear sets a little bit for them to be used in the normal story. And if they do that, that's going to allow us to use these type of sets throughout the main game, and they may also allow you to go ahead and try and make it so that your agents are going to be set with a specific way. So you pick your agent number 1, you can say, okay, what loadouts do you want? Boom, 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 boom. This character is going to be set with these loadouts straight from the start, and that's who you are. That's what that agent has to offer. Agent number 2, you can go ahead and select 4 more loadouts. Boom, 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 boom. Be done with that. And you can have 2 totally different sets of agents doing 2 totally different playstyles. That's what we're doing now on our own, trying to mix and match stuff, throwing it in the stash, throwing on our other agents, and it doesn't have to be that difficult. If you are given base gear at the start of that type of playstyle, you already know by the time you get to that end game if this is what you want to do or not. So there you go. That is something that I think really needs to be adjusted. The way that you are given gear throughout the entire lifespan of the game, the loot drops to try and get that better high-end gear and those gear set items along with exotics and classifieds, which is a totally different discussion. Classifieds is the ultimate end-game set of gear, and that should totally be left out of the main story. Just leave that aside. We can just have the regular pieces, even just a 4-piece set for the story would be good. Anyways, guys, be sure to go ahead and sign off in the comments down below. Do you think that the gear sets at a much lower level should be put into the story so that you can try and playtest these things to see if this is the type of player that you want to become? Or do you think it's stupid and leave it only for the end game? I'd love to go try and figure out what you guys think. Sign off in the comments down below, like if you haven't, sub if you're new. And this concludes Hype Week here for The Division 2. I'm out. Peace.